Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shrimp Tank. We come to you virtually from Seattle and the entire Pacific Northwest. This week, we head over the Hood Canal Bridge and out to Clallam County. You'll learn more about that in a minute. Listen, if you want to learn how to start, grow, or run a successful business, this right here is the podcast for you. This is where we say street smarts and book smarts collide. Hello again, everyone. I'm Dan Whedon, and my co-host is the incomparable Monica Blackwood. Our guest today is Danny Steiger. With a remarkable journey in the building industry spanning over 2 decades, Danny's expertise and leadership have been instrumental in driving the success of his company. From humble beginnings as a retail sales associate, he swiftly climbed the ranks, mastering diverse roles and spearheading major projects. Throughout his visionary approach, Danny Steiger transformed lumber traders amidst challenging times, achieving substantial growth and enhancing employee benefits. We are excited to hear the captivating story of this lifelong learner and business visionary. Danny, welcome to the show. We'll be with you in just a minute. Everyone, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're all over the place. We're on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube. We are ubiquitous. And now, open for business, our patron membership. We call it the Shrimp Peelers, offering exclusive content to help you grow your business and, importantly, to enrich your life. You'll find access on our website at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle. Look for the Shrimp Peeler patron page. Now, listen, before we bring on Monica, hello, Monica. Before we bring on Danny, hello, Monica.
Hey there, Dan. How are you?
You know what? I'm actually doing pretty well. Today's a special day, June 21st. Now, people can't see this, but the sun is out. That's beautiful. It's the first day of summer. It is also my 37th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations to you and especially Barb.
Especially Barb, no doubt. In fact, as we record this at noon, I think, I don't remember for sure, but I think the wedding started at 11. It was a Catholic mass, and the priest everything was going to be done in 45 minutes, no matter what. So I think I was married at this point 37 years ago, and we were probably heading over to the reception or taking pictures or doing something. But Barb and I were talking last night, Monica. I don't feel that much different than I did 37 years ago. It absolutely blows my mind. In fact, at that time, I thought somebody who was 37 was really old.
Right. I know. Clay and I have been married almost 24 years now. Next month will be our anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
But it's crazy. Anniversaries sneak up on us. You just mentioned your anniversary with Clay. Any other, kind of important anniversaries that you can think of in your life?
Well, let's see. An important anniversary that kicked off the day I was born, basically, was the first time I ever got in trouble because I was born on my parents' first wedding anniversary. That was the only day I was not allowed to be born, according to my parents. So
Monica, that probably laid the groundwork for what you became as a mover and a shaker and a disruptor in the business world, right?
There you go. And so the other anniversary that I have recently been celebrating for the last 5 years is ownership of West Sound Workforce.
Oh gosh,
so that's pretty fun.
Yes. Oh, well, see, anniversaries are fun. They can make us feel a little bit old, even though we don't feel like it. Well, speaking of the first day of summer, and maybe we're going to talk about movers and shakers and disruptors, Danny Steiger is here. We want to welcome you, Danny. You're from Lumber Traders. There's a story behind all of that. You've got a great bio that's going to show up on the website and all of that. I want to welcome you, first of all. And I got to believe that summer means a lot of hot deals and hot action in lumber yards and building material dealers. Welcome to the show. Tell us what's going on over in Port Angeles.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Yeah, summertime absolutely kicks off with the builders. They're all kind of coming out of their hibernation from the winter time. But in reality, everybody's worked really hard. we we've got all kinds of things going on for summertime, from customer appreciation events, our first since COVID shut everything down. So we are super excited to express our gratitude to our customers. Uh, Builder appreciation, incredible tool sales. It's a busy time of the year, but my favorite time of the year.
That's fantastic, Danny. I've been up to your store a couple of times, and actually even like before you were CEO up there, when we used to own a house up there. Are you seeing a lot of individuals come through? I know you've had a lot of developers partner with you, but how about individual activity?
Yeah, it's been pretty remarkable. When no one knew what to expect in 2020 with COVID and everything, and actually our customer count just shot through the roof. Everybody was at home with lots of time, work on their fences, remodel projects, all that stuff. And then we saw things kind of dip down a little bit for the next couple of years. And this year, I think we're up almost 20% in transaction counts year to date. So people are coming out of the woodwork. People are ready to get back to their lives, get things moving again. It's really exciting.
Well, I find what I found a little bit exciting was your story. You didn't have necessarily a straight line to CEO. You spent decades working in the industry at it felt like every level of work there. Take us back for those who don't know who you are and know your story. Obviously, that's probably most people who are listening or watching. Give us the kind of the Reader's Digest version of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems like most people in the building industry, I stumbled into it. It wasn't a lifelong plan of mine. And after graduating high school, I went to college, and at the time I was dating a gal who was 2 years younger than me. And so we thought, I'll take some time off of college and I'll work until she graduates, and then we'll go to college and we'll live happily ever after, which means we broke up in December. And suddenly I had no classes, no job. So I went, oh boy. And another friend, her dad owned a local lumber yard in Linden, Washington. And she said, go talk to my dad. And I said, no, I don't know anything about building. He's not going to hire me. Well, kind of all who you know, right? So dad did end up hiring me. And for a little while, it was just a job. And then I had some incredible mentors. I guess the first step was they brought in a challenge. If you can reach X amount in sales, you get $100 bonus. And an 18-year-old guy, right? $100, that's good money. So I thought, I can sell a 2x4. There's nothing too complicated here, right? And they kept upping that challenge every single month that you met it. They just kept raising the bar. And so I liked that challenge. And then some incredible mentors came into my life who taught me, blueprint takeoffs, looking at a building set and figuring out the material list and selling that, or cabinetry design and things like that. But it's just been these incredible mentors in my life that really were formative for where I'm at now. And from there, I feel so blessed in my life because I've had so many of these mentors, but also I grew up in a retail business. My parents owned a small feed and hay store. And so I was in that environment, in the retail environment, learning customer service all, before I even knew I was learning it. And coupling that with these mentors just opened so many doors, and on its way to management. And really, I've really pursued a lifelong learning. I love learning new things. I love growing. I love stretching myself, even sometimes it's uncomfortable. Monica is in a peer group that I'm a part of. We call it the hot seat sometimes. And it's challenging to be put in those situations of growth. But all this kind of culminated, went in a lot of different places, moved to the Olympic Peninsula, where my lovely lady's from here. I guess she's a transplant, but she's here. And an opportunity came up at Lumber Traders to just come in as a retail sales manager. And it was kind of getting back to my building roots, and jumped in and thoroughly enjoyed it, and pretty quickly moved up to the store manager position. And I thought, okay, this is probably where I'm going to be for a while. And within 2 years, we found out that the former CEO was going to be leaving the company. So some management team here suggested to the board maybe interview me, and ultimately interviewed with them, took the interim position for 6 months, and 6 months later they made it final. And that's where I've been since 2019. So it's been a whirlwind, but very exciting. I can't tell you the last time I was bored at work. I don't think that's a thing.
So Danny, part of being a CEO or having a CEO mindset is kind of that entrepreneurial spirit, and a huge component that you brought up is mentorship. So you've had a lot of mentorship in your growings in a professional life. How are you turning that around and giving it back to those in lumber traders?
Absolutely. I'm such a fan of mentorship. It's been so enjoyable getting the management team put together. And when I first took over as CEO, I had been the store manager, so I had to fill my shoes. And we had a brand new store manager at our other location, and several other empty positions. So it's been really fulfilling to bring those guys up, to share what I've learned in the building industry, to pass on some of these lessons, and to challenge them to learn and to grow. And then also for them to pay that forward to the staff that's under them as well. I think employees are so much more engaged when they know somebody cares about them and their development. And I'm a huge believer in win-win scenarios, right? It's got to be the right thing for the employee, and it's got to be the right thing for the company. And when you can bring those things together, you can do some incredible things. And we have had incredible growth through the years as well. So it's awesome to see that succeeding as a business, but also to see people succeeding as individuals. And that lights a fire in me.
So I have two things I want to ask you. I'm gonna hold off on the ESOPs because we want to talk about employee ownership and all of that. That's kind of a huge component of what you do. But when you were given your story, Danny, you mentioned that you became CEO in 2019. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I have to tell you, I've worked with a lot of lumber yards over my history, and I think the business is incredible. I've loved meeting, working with all those folks, but I also understand what, people who are in the yard and building houses, all that. 2019, about a year later, March 2020 comes. Nobody's building houses. Nobody's walking in to lumber yards. Nobody's walking in to buy hammers and nails and equipment. Everything stops. And to me, lumber yards must have been, and I know were, some of the most impacted industry around, just from all the people who I knew in the business and know in the business. That was coming under fire. I mean, you're a year into CEO. Tell us, I want to know what was going through your mind in March of 2020, and how are you able to strategically work through not only the rest of that year, but coming out a couple of years later and being so successful?
Oh my goodness, you are completely right. I thought I've got just about 20 years, 18 years experience. Thought I know the building industry, right? We went through the Great Recession and survived that. Like, I can handle this. I've got the experience. And then a global pandemic that no one's ever experienced, not in our lifetimes at least. And it was wild, and we didn't know if that meant that our industry was just going to be decimated or what was going to happen. Staffing, such a challenge, trying to keep up with the different mandates and different things like that, keep staff safe, all those things. It cemented CEO. A lot of times I call it communicator in chief, because I feel like that's what I spend most of my time doing. That tenfold when COVID hit, trying to keep staff updated on what was going on, trying to keep the public knowing what was going on, where we're only allowed to have 5 people in our store at a time. And I say this fortunately for us, kind of unfortunate for the greater economy. Despite all the challenges of COVID, we have such a housing shortage right now. And that really led to things continuing to go in the business, for building to keep happening, even though we had to fight for, not being allowed to be open to the public, or builders not being allowed to build. But that, again, like I mentioned too, customers coming in doing home remodel projects. So we really had to pivot to what people wanted, what the needs were. And alongside that, supply chain. I mean, everybody knows the supply chain during COVID just went crazy, but lumber commodities, they went up about 300%. So trying to keep on top of price updates and keep all that stuff going, and availability, trying to keep the stuff in our yards. You know, the builders need it, they need it now. It was a whole set of challenges, but the team really rallied together, you know, to face this. And the growth that we've had, we just had our shareholders meeting. I know we'll talk about ESOP and what that is, but it's been really exciting to share with them. Yes, it's been terribly challenging the last 3 years, and we came through that so successful and so much stronger as a team. And again, that's inspiring. It's inspiring to me. I think it's inspiring to our team. And we love how the community's also embraced us. You know, they've worked with us through these challenges. It's been amazing for as challenging as it is. And I don't think I'd want to relive it. It's been great for the growth that it's kind of caused you to have to. You either grow or you fall away.
Well, it is an amazing story, and we got a lot more amazing things to talk with you about, Danny, but we're going to take our first short break to pay some bills, and we're going to hear from today's Spotlight sponsor. When we come back with our guest, Danny Steiger, for a Hot or Not section of the show, how about it? We just going to dive into what he thinks about ESOPs. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. Do you know where great people go to meet great companies? I do. It's West Sound Workforce. For 25 years, West Sound Workforce has been putting people to work by matching their skills and interests with positions employers are looking to fill right here in our own communities. Specializing in temp to hire, and direct hire placement services, West Sound Workforce is there to help job seekers looking to find their next position or their next career step with no cost. Companies partner with West Sound Workforce to augment their recruitment strategies, whether to cover the shift of a vacationing employee of their own, having extra hands to make a special project happen, or searching for their next new team member. Visit our website at westsoundworkforce.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I'll just go ahead and say happy anniversary to the CEO of West Sound Workforce, our own Monica Blackwood. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to her.
Well, welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business leaders in the greater Puget Sound area and beyond, including Clallam County. I'm Monica Blackwood, and our guest today is Danny Steiger for our next segment, Hot or Not.
Well, Danny, I know you've listened or watched a few of our shows. You know, Hot or Not is where Monica and I pepper you with questions about business, about life, maybe about lumber, or maybe rock bands. We may have to talk about some rock bands or who knows. And at the end, you win absolutely nothing, but we hope you have some fun. We're going to dive in. I'm going to give you the easiest layup in Shrimp Tank podcast history. Hot or Not, ESOPs. And if it is hot, tell us why they're so hot.
Absolutely hot. This is one of the coolest business structures that almost nobody knows anything about, where employees get shares of the company, and it's a retirement benefit, right? So once they either leave the company or they retire, we cash them out for those shares. So that means all the profits that the company is making ultimately go back to the people making it happen. And, you know, I'm all for entrepreneurship and great entrepreneurship. And when you have all the benefits of the business going back to the employees, that is powerful. That's engaging for our communities. It's helpful for our communities. It's absolutely hot. I wish more people knew about it. And I'd love to talk to anybody who wants to know about it.
Danny, I know you're a huge fan of ESOPs, and I am too. And we've had some conversations about it. But going back to employees, hot or not, memes to connect with them and motivate them.
Absolutely hot. Who doesn't like a good meme, a good GIF? It is pronounced GIF, by the way. I'm just going to go on record with that one. Absolutely hot. It takes a fun spirit. It's a changing communication style. I think it's hot.
I don't think I got a meme or do emojis work in there too? Can you do
emojis definitely work.
Yeah.
I think you should up it though. Take your emojis, add some memes, and that's a powerful combination.
Okay, well, the next time you and I interact by email, I'll expect to see some of those. So hot or not, competing against the big box chains of building material industry?
Ooh, always the challenge. It's
Yeah.
it's the marketing machine, of Home Depot. To answer your question, I'm going to say hot. Uh, I shouldn't call that a company, should I? The box store. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm
Um,
we're a podcast. I'm sure they're all listening. We'll talk about Lowe's and
every
Home
one of them.
Depot. And that's fair. And I guess what I would ask you this, and maybe this is kind of a quick follow on to that. You've got to look at it as a competitive advantage to your customers, whether they understand it or not. How do you differentiate, and how do you keep that customer base excited about coming to you?
It's the service end of things. And I don't know anyone who's come into a good local lumberyard. And there's good ones and maybe not as good, but the service, the staff who knows so much about the products they sell, who can help customers through their projects. How does this go together? What part do I need for that? It's almost like hide and seek sometimes in those box stores where you're trying to get somebody to help you, and God bless them, they're working hard too. But that's such a competitive edge. And once you experience a local retailer with a great staff, I would never go back. I'm a little biased, I realize, but we love getting new customers in the door, showing them the difference. And honestly, we're incredibly competitive when it comes to pricing, and the quality of materials is almost always superior as well. So if you haven't been to a local lumberyard, doesn't even have to be in Port Angeles, wherever you are, check it out. It's absolutely worth the trip.
You talk about that customer service and knowledgeable staff being able to help a customer out and trying to find the right piece that they might need, or materials and so forth. And it makes me think about when I tried to get my children's little iPad fixed, their screen fixed a long time ago, and I took it in to a local place, and they said, you know what, it's not worth fixing the screen. It'll cost twice as much to fix the screen. Go get another one. And that wasn't what I wanted my kids to understand. I wanted them to know that things can be fixed. And so that makes me think, hot or not, Gen Z customers as a market share.
Oh man. If you're not embracing it, you're just asking for stagnation and decline in your business. You have to embrace that. You have to think about the way that you're doing business. We're about to launch a big e-commerce platform. And we got some pushback from some of our, older employees that, well, people don't want that. They want to come in and talk to us. So, yeah, but this is the age of DoorDash, and those people who want to come in, they absolutely can. We're not changing it, but we need to meet our customers where they're at. It doesn't do us any good to just wait for them to come to us. So absolutely, you have to engage the different audiences, and you have to think differently about what you're doing to continue doing that.
Well, Danny, I want to follow up on that. I find that really interesting. It was a great question by Monica, because I've just mentioned to you, I've been working with lumber yards going back into the early 90s. I've had them as clients, and you are the youngest CEO I've ever encountered at a lumber yard. And congratulations, you absolutely earned it. I would tell you that prior to meeting you, and I love my lumberyard people, don't get me wrong, but I would have said stodgy and stuck in kind of, I think it might be in play. And that thinking around, hey, who's my future customer? And that future customer might be now, by the way, but where is that puck going, and using and saying, hey, we can play in this game too. I think it's kind of fun that you got some pushback. Where do you think this is going though? Because in an age of social media and everything like TikTok and now AI and all of that, do you have to set up a separate division to do this? Where are you going to take it?
Right. So one of the big things, our e-commerce platform is launching largely due to the incredible work of our in-house IT guy who interned with us during college. So we had him come on board and help us with different social media things, different computer work, and bringing in those people, that kind of young blood, if you will, and engaging. And I think you hit a good point too. Lumberyards are traditionally a little older demographic, and that's awesome, right? They've got tons of life experience, and that's great. And it's challenging to get people into the industry. I've heard a lot of people say, well, this isn't a sexy industry. And somebody said, okay. And this was a conference that I was at, they said, how many of you guys are either owners or senior management? And most of the room raised their hand. So, okay, how many of you all have a college degree? And maybe a third do. They say, okay, so we've got an industry where with little or no post-secondary education, you can come in, create a thriving business and career and be where you're at. How is that not a sexy industry? So we got to shake off the dust and say, how do we bring more people into this industry? How do we get them excited? And that requires training and engagement and drawing on these younger groups. And I think it's so important to have that mix of demographics, have the older crew who's been seasoned, they know their stuff, and that young, energetic group, and marry those together. That's when you get something powerful.
All right, so shaking off the dust, some more, hot or not, TikTok accounts for lumber traders.
Oh my goodness. I literally just wrote a note, TikTok, talk to Josh. We don't have one yet. But interestingly enough, we've got some incredible videos. If you go find us on Facebook, Angelus Millwork and Hartnagel Building Supply, there's a couple videos, Milwaukee Josh is what I'll call him. And that's our advertising and events coordinator. He went on and did just a crazy personality filled message for a huge sale that we had. It was phenomenal, but those are the things that engage people. So we are definitely going to be launching TikTok here pretty soon. I know we're a little late to the party, but we're trying to push forward slowly but surely.
I don't know if you're late to the party for the lumber yard industry. I think you may be leading the pack. And before I ask my next question, I think it's so innovative, because as we talked about the Lowe's and Home Depots of the world, where else are people who are in their 20s going to go to if they see Lowe's, they see Home Depot, they see that all on TV? That's going to be their default unless they hear about you and you're reaching out to them. I think that's amazing. One thing the pandemic did was put the words supply and chain together for most of the world. I think most people had never even heard of supply chain until they realized, what do you mean I can't get this the next day anymore? And I believe lumber yards were really impacted. Where is supply chain today in the lumber industry? Is it better? Is it the same? Tell us, where things are now.
Things are dramatically better than they were. It was rough. Prices have come down to half or a third of what they were at the peak of the pandemic. So that certainly helped things out. Mind you, from our end, we have to sell a whole lot more stuff to make up for those numbers, but it's good for the industry overall. Availability is a lot better too. Huge shout out to my commodities buyer through the pandemic. I mean, he kept lumber in our racks. He kept plywood on hand. He kept us going. And that was no small feat. And you're right. People don't know about supply chain. When everything works, no one asks, right? It just works. And when it starts to break down, that's where you go, oh, what's happening here? This is a lot more complicated than we thought. But no, far and away, much better. Still some work to go. The biggest thing right now is more labor impacting things, manufacturing. That's still the bottleneck that we're really fighting.
All right, I'm totally switching things on you here. We're gonna talk a little bit about Danny personally.
Oh boy.
You and I have known each other for a couple of years now, and so you've heard all the crazy things that my son likes to get. So his newest thing is a one wheel. What do you say, hot or not?
Yes, so hot. I have a one wheel. I love it. If you're not familiar, it's literally just one wheel and a board, and it's electronic. It self-balances. You go forward by leaning your weight forward and slow down by leaning back. Absolutely phenomenal. If you get them, get some wrist guards and elbow pads. I've still got a sore elbow from last summer, a little tumble that I took, but so awesome, so much fun. And if you like snowboarding, but you want to do something during the summer, that's what you want.
I think that's why he wants it, is because he snowboards in the wintertime. But follow on, hot or not, taking your one wheel and riding it to work. What do you think?
I think it's hot, with the caveat, make sure you have those pads. I was actually on my way to work when I took one of those tumbles. I don't think too many people saw me go down, which at least my pride was somewhat salvaged. But alternate modes of travel and low emissions, that's a good thing. We can all get behind that.
Well, Monica, we were talking about TikTok and lumber traders going into the TikTok business. I can see this video already being the first one. Maybe the one wheel, Danny on a one wheel would be the very first thing we see. Well, that's a great chance to jump to our next commercial break. We're going to take that short break to hear from our sponsors. And when we come back with our guest, Danny Steiger, for our Plead the Fifth section of the show, we're going to find out what he likes most and least about the industry he's in. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. And Plead the Fifth is brought to you by our terrific corporate sponsors, Ideal Life 360, Cornerstone Financial, First Underwriters Insurance, BC Fitness Studio, Port Ludlow Resort, and Upstart Group. Please visit our website at www.shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle to learn more about these terrific companies. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business thought leaders in the greater Puget Sound area and beyond. I'm co-host Monica Blackwood. Today, our guest is Danny Steiger for our next segment, Plead the Fifth.
And Danny, we're going to turn up the heat. Monica and I are going to start asking you maybe some tougher questions. I don't know. You get to plead the fifth, but you only get to plead the fifth once. So be careful and choose wisely. Again, at the end, you win absolutely nothing. Let's hope you have some fun. I gave you a little bit of a chance to think about this. It's one of my favorite questions to ask anybody. What do you like most and what do you like least as in the state of the lumber industry today?
Boy, I think the most would be the people, the customers, the contractors, seeing these people come in day after day, building the relationships. And contractors are really salt of the earth type people. These are good, hard working people. And most of them have great sense of humor, just an absolute pleasure to work with. Least, as we talk about trying to drag the industry forward, it's challenging even making web pages and things like that for e-commerce, because so many of our vendors don't even have any of the information. They don't have pictures of all their products, all these things that you think are just standard in so many industries. And a lot of this stuff we end up kind of creating as we go because it doesn't exist. So, that's what I'll say for my biggest dislike, but we're turning the tide slowly but surely.
So kind of taking that challenge, if you will, and looking ahead 3 years or so, what do you see the building and material industry looking like in that time frame? Or what do you hope?
Ooh, great question. Challenging question. I think we're constantly looking at how we can be more efficient. We still, when our contractor sales team we call it a takeoff, right? That's looking at a set of plans and figuring out all the material that go with that. We're still doing it pen and paper for the most part. Moving some of those things to different software platforms and getting people proficient in those things. I think that will streamline processes. And then again, just being where our customers are. If they want to order from their phones, they can do that. If they want to work after hours and put quotes together, they can do that. So I think we just need to continue to embrace the technology that's already there and also keep an eye out for what's new, different AI, chat GPT, different things like that. So many tools, we just got to be ready to use them.
So, one of the things that you and I talked about, or actually Monica and all three of us talked about before we got started in the show, and I'm going to deviate from Plead the Fifth really quickly because I want to make sure we talk about it. You are going to be starting a new service, if I heard you correctly, around rentals. Talk a little bit about that and what brought that on and what makes you excited about it.
Yeah. So the actual department isn't completely new to us. We've had it for a while out of Angeles Millwork, renting different, power tools, equipment, things like that. And it was about $100,000 a year in revenue for years and years, just absolutely flat. And around 2020, actually, we decided, we're going to do something different. We're going to get newer equipment. We're not going to just beat our equipment into the ground and keep repairing it. We're going to get good equipment for people. We're going to get heavy equipment for people. And we found a rental manager, also a good friend of mine. He came of all things as a bartender, but incredibly competent individual. And we've grown at, since he came in, 205% in
Wow.
3 years.
Wow.
And we've purchased a new building now. What is it, 11,000 square foot building that we're remodeling. And we're going to have the rental center out of there and continue to offer more equipment. Again, focusing on small business and growing our communities. We see so much equipment coming from even as far away as Seattle. So providing that here locally. And we are super excited at that.
So going back to Plead the Fifth now, because the rental center is actually a phenomenal thing, and it was a great place to put that, Dan, because Danny was talking about what the future would look like, and that's specifically for lumber traders, and it's exciting. But I would like to know, Danny, if you could start another business from a hobby, what might it be?
Ooh. Like just me personally, something I would enjoy, or for the business? Open-ended.
Decide.
Oh my goodness gracious, that's so broad. My dream job, I mean, other than this job, but I always thought making movie trailers would be the most fascinating thing. I love a good movie trailer. Get the music in there and carve out those perfect notes, and it just can give you goosebumps. But I think that comes in, I want to engage people, and that's broad. That could be in any industry that you're in. So that's probably my left field answer for you.
No, I like, nobody said movie trailers. I think they are important. It's kind of like the label on the wine, isn't it? I mean, that's what people see first. All right. So Danny, we've seen on TV, at least I've been seeing these commercials, at least on the Golf Channel, about rock stars and who they call rock stars. We see Billy Idol come out of the woodwork and Ozzy Osbourne. So I think they've been kind of fun commercial. I think Workday puts it out. But Plead the Fifth, is your wife a rock star?
Oh, I am not pleading the fifth on this. My wife legit is a rock star.
And not just because you think she's awesome. She's really a rock star, right?
No, she is. She is the singer in a band, the OG. She joined them just over a year ago, I think, or just under. I think they're right about a year. We talk about anniversaries. They're about an anniversary. But they sing everything from, I think they've got some AC/DC, Dorothy, if you're familiar with her, Eva Under Fire. They are rocking. They're actually coming to play our 2 customer appreciation events and our contractor appreciation event this summer. So yes, my wife is a rock star, 100%.
And I was going to ask you when they were going to be performing so I could make my way up to Port Angeles. But it sounds like customer appreciation events are at the place. Does she have any other gigs happening anymore? Do you know?
Oh, she's playing at the Lavender Festival. If anyone wants to come check out Squim, tour Lavender Farms, it's a pretty cool thing. So they're playing there. They just played at the Elks, Roosevelt. That's a bar here in Port Angeles. I think they're going to be playing there in October again. So she's got a lot of gigs. You can look them up too. The OG on Facebook.
That's great. So aside from having dinner with your wife, who would be a person, dead or alive, that you'd want to dine with, and why?
Boy, I probably would say the author C.S. Lewis. I just think the way that he thinks about things is so interesting. The philosophical side of things and also human experience. I think that would be an absolutely fascinating dinner. And you know what? He used to have times that he'd get together with J.R.R. Tolkien as well. Man, if I could be a part of that dinner group, that would be amazing.
That would, you know what? I don't know if anybody's answered those. That would be a lot of fun. I completely agree with you. I'd like to be a fly on the wall at your dinner. That would work out great. All of us, CEOs, young or old, or however that works, we all can be guilty of being our own worst critics. Can you share with us, plead the fifth, Danny, what's something that you struggle with?
Oh, gosh. Well, I won't plead the fifth on it. I think it's important to recognize the things that we struggle with. Um, we just had our shareholders meeting, and my wife asked me, how do you think that went? And I said, I don't know. I'd probably give it a 6 or 7 out of 10. She said, is that it? I said, yeah, I just wanted to be more engaging. I want to get people more involved. So I think I'm constantly second guessing myself. Usually I think in a healthy way, that I'm trying to improve things and grow from it. But that's probably my biggest hang up, is just second guessing and thinking, how could something have been better? And again, you can put it in a good light to just continue improving rather than a hole that you get stuck in.
Danny, I think that's just a testament to your inner drive to continue learning and continue to improve for yourself and for your company and your employees and for the community up there. So I'm sure that it went well, and I know you put a lot of work into that shareholder meeting. So I'm sure it was great. And as our fellow friends would say, there's more that could be done too. So that's good. Thank you so much for being a guest here on the Shrimp Tank. For our listeners that want to get in touch with you or learn more about your company, how can they get that information? Where can they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us on just online, angelusmillwork.com. You can find us on Facebook, Angelus Millwork and Hartnagel Building Supply. You can certainly reach out to me directly if you have any questions. If you have any ESOP questions, I'd love to answer that too. My email address, I think, will be in the show notes, but it is dannys@lumbertradersinc.com. Please feel free to look us up, shoot me a message. I'm always happy to talk about things.
And make sure you check out all of the replays on shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle and wherever you get your podcasts. iHeart, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all of those. Please make sure to follow us on our show's social media pages as well, on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Well, Danny, thank you very much for being on the show today. Really enjoyed talking with you. And next time I'm up in the Port Angeles area, I'll make sure to stop in and say hello if that's okay. Would love to meet in person. Thanks for being on the show. Monica, thank you. And I don't know if I made this announcement the last time we were together, because I don't know if we knew, but Monica's husband, Clay Blackwood, is like the coach of the year. I don't know if it was for the state of Washington or it was. He's the coach of the year for the undefeated season that the girls softball team at North Kitsap had. And by the way, Raina, their daughter, was also on that team. Monica, probably the head cheerleader, right? So congratulations to Clay. And thanks for being here today again. I look forward to seeing you next month. Everybody, please do exactly what Monica says. Like us on our Facebook page. That way you can live stream with us every week. Check out our patron page on patreon.com/shrimptankseattle. We'd love to have you become a shrimp peeler. Our next show will be Wednesday, June 28th. Our guest will be Aaron Vitlasil. I hope I'm saying his name right. Craig Swanson is going to be our co-host. So we'll see you then. In the meantime, be safe, be well, and be prosperous, because until next week, the shrimp is back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.